Okay, now we're going to move on to inequalities. With inequalities, you're talking about a whole range of something. So, for example, let's say you're given this x is greater than let's say 2. Well, this symbol here, it means greater, as in this gap here is bigger than this here. So this is greater than the 2. So what that means is when you're given x is greater than 2, it basically means, well, this basically means all these here. So if you select, let's say 95, if you put 95 into x, then 95 is greater than 2. So that's good. Okay. If you put, let's say, negative 6 into the x here, well, that's not true, because negative 6 is less than 2. Well, when you're talking about x being greater than 2, you basically want all the numbers greater than 2. So you're talking about everything in this range here. Okay. But the thing is, this sign here, x greater than 2, you see this is strictly greater than 2. So it has to be, it can, when you write x greater than 2, it cannot be 2. It can be 2.1, or it can be 2.0001. These are good, but then it can't be 2, because it's saying that it has to be greater than 2. It cannot be 2. Okay. But if you have a symbol like this, x greater or equal to 2, then here, yes, you can have the number 2, because you can't, well, x has to be bigger than 2, but because of this line here, it is allowed to have, you are allowed to put 2 in there. So when you see this symbol here, it means that yes, it can have a 2. Okay. So it can be all these above here. But if you have something like this, x is strictly greater than 2, we normally use this symbol here, an empty circle here, and then everything above it. So you see on this diagram here, it really depicts this, because it's saying x has to be bigger than 2. Now, if you have something like this, hang on, if you have x equal greater or equal to 2, you see this, you are allowed to include the x. So that means you give it a circle and actually fill up the circle. So now it's everything above here. Okay. So if you have, say x is is greater or equal to, let's say, -7, then well, this here, it means you can include the -7. So basically, hang on. So this here, you are allowed to include this. You are allowed to put -7 into here, because -7 is equal. Here you're allowed any number above or equal to, so you are allowed to put -7 in here. So basically it's a full circle. So equal to or greater than or equal to, you use a full circle like this. If it's strictly, if you've got x is greater than -7, then you've got to use an empty circle here with the arrow. Okay. Well, basically to depict this here, we're going to we're going to use a black circle for this one here. So it will be everything above this. Okay. So here, if you put, let's say, -4 into here, that would be good, because -4 is greater or equal to, so this statement here is true, because look, -4 is bigger than -7. So this is true. Okay. If you put, let's say, 3 into here, well, 3 is bigger or equal to, well, it is bigger than -7. So by putting the 3 into here, it is, you're allowed to do that. That's a good thing. But if you put, let's say, -9 into here, if you put -9 into here, you're saying, hang on, if you put -9 into there, it will be -9, and then you're saying it's greater or equal to minus. Well, this here is not true, because -7 is not greater than it's not greater or equal to -7. so this minus 9 here is no good. Okay, so for example, let's say x is x is strictly greater than, let's say, minus 3. So strictly you cannot have you cannot have you cannot put minus 3 into here, because because of this symbol here. It's saying that it has to be bigger than minus 3. You see, this symbol is different from this symbol here. Okay, well, anyway, when you're given this here, x strictly greater than 3, then it would be, hang on, sorry, it's strictly greater than minus 3, it would be this. Because it's strictly greater than, you've got to use a white circle. Okay, so it would be this 3 here. Hang on, use a white circle, and then it's basically everything above it. Okay, so that this white circle here means you cannot put minus 3 into here because it's strictly greater than. Okay.